As soon as Cuban lost majority ownership of the team, they started making Nico Harrison, who's he was a former Nike executive. He's now the GM of the Mavericks. He starts making these incredible moves. Mark Cuban really screwed up after the Mavericks won the championship in 2011.
Okay.
He let Tyson Chandler go for nothing. He ends up becoming Defensive Player of the Year the next year for the New York Knicks because he was trying to sign Dwight Howard. Mark Cuban has always been like shooting for the stars and then hurting the team because of it. Mark Cuban also has this horrible problem, whether it's Nick Van Exel or if it was Antoine Walker, Antoine Jamison, Chris Kaman, of getting players who could only play on one side of the court. He cared nothing about defense. I don't know why he's like this. Maybe somewhere he believes that the statistical anomaly that this will work. What if you will look at the Warriors 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, that Warriors team that won those championships, they were able to win because they could shoot threes, but they could also play defense. Whereas Don Nelson would just try to shoot threes and try to run up and down the court. That whole plan didn't work. And Mark Cuban, who, by the way, is not officially the GM of the Mavericks, was clearly making a lot of their front office moves. And he would go get Vince Carter, and he would go get these players that were like names that were big names that he knew could score points.
Right.
And the Mavericks would be always perennially the worst team in the league in rebounding and defense.
Right.
Because he would do this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they hire Nico Harris, and the Adelsons buy the team. And out of nowhere, the Mavericks trade for Gafford, and then they go get P.J. Washington. I can tell you unequivocally, and they signed Derrick Jones Jr. to play guard for them. I can tell you unequivocally, had Mark Cuban been in charge, this is when I knew Mark Cuban wasn't in charge anymore. You understand? He was telling people, even after the Adelsons bought the team, he was telling them, nothing's going to change. I'm still going to be, working on player personnel. When I saw them trade for Gafford, I'm like, Gafford plays defense. That doesn't make any sense. When I saw them trade for P.J. Washington, I'm like, P.J. Washington will shut down a 4. This guy's a really good defender. When I saw them sign Derrick Jones Jr. and Dante Exum, I was like, Dante Exum has a ridiculously high, per 48 minutes, his steals per game is way out of this. It's crazy high. In fact, that's the best thing he does, Exum as a defender. I was like, Mark Cuban is not in charge of this team anymore. These are defenders. This is how the Mavericks won a championship in 2011. They had one guy, Dirk, who really wasn't a great defender. He was a decent post defender, really good rebounder, and they surrounded him with Sean Marion. They put Tyson Chandler next to him. They put Jason Kidd, who could really defend back then, Caron Butler. They put defenders all around Dirk. Yeah. So it was one guy who literally was a mismatch no matter who was guarding him, especially if it was Chris Bosh, who couldn't guard my grandma. They would literally have one awesome offensive player and then 4 really good defensive players. You watch when the Sixers went to the finals in 2001, similar situation where they had Allen Iverson. His usage rate was through the roof, and they had Eric Snow right there, and they had Dikembe Mutombo, and they had 4 guys who were elite defenders and one guy who could just score anytime he wanted to, right?
I'm a Raptors guy, so that season was heartbreaking. That was Vince, game winner, game 7, in and out.
Yeah. So when you see what happened, as soon as Cuban lost majority ownership of the team, they started making Nico Harrison, who's he was a former Nike executive. He's now the GM of the Mavericks. He starts making these incredible moves. And what he does, what I really love, if you guys want to watch this, and I know this is a big thing in EPL. I like keeping up with EPL a little bit.
Yeah,
is that they will go rent players who play on teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, or they'll send a guy who's really good on their team. Real Madrid will loan a player to another team.
Yeah.
We don't in the NFL. Obviously, we don't do anything
Doesn't
like that.
Exist,
NBA, we don't do anything similar. We'll loan them to the G League. That's about it. G League Ignite or one of the G League franchises. That's all we'll do. Because the other difference is we have full guaranteed contracts and we have a salary cap. You guys don't have a salary cap. I don't believe
there is salary caps.
Is there?
Yeah.
Is it per player or is it just in general?
So it's based on there's so many different leagues in European football that it's hard to keep track because there are different rules within different leagues.
But La
Liga has a salary cap and it's based on the annual revenue projections of each team. So every team.
So it's just like the NFL. Is it a hard cap or can you go above it?
It's a hard cap.
Wow, I did not know this. Cap. Is this a new thing or it was always like this?
It's always like this, but it's not really. I don't know, for some reason not talked about enough in the dialogue.
Does every team get to the cap? I can't imagine all the teams in Spain spend the same amount of money.
No, they don't. I mean, so Real Madrid can sign infinitely more players than anyone else.
In the NFL and in the NBA, I believe you have to spend 90% of the cap per year.
You have to.
Yes, you have to spend. It's a thing with a collective bargaining agreement. But in the NFL, you can't. It's a hard cap. You cannot go above 100%. There is no cap for players. In the NBA, there is a cap for players. So with someone like Luka, because you can't honestly pay him enough, he's always going to get max deals, max years.
Yeah, of course.
Same thing with LeBron. LeBron, Giannis, Jokic, there's no contract negotiation with them. They get max deal, max years. There's no question about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
For other players, and also it makes trades easier because you have full 100% guaranteed contracts and you can switch players. That's why you see so many trades in the NBA, where you don't see it in professional. When I say football, I mean American football.
Yeah.
You don't see it in American football because the contracts are not guaranteed.
Yeah.
You do see guaranteed contracts in American baseball, but there is no salary cap, and that is not that. You see crazy numbers there. You will see one team, and I'm sorry, you see this probably in the EPL too, or in La Liga or Bundesliga, where you'll have a team spending 3 times as much as another team.
Yeah,
you only see that in baseball. In our American sports leagues, we have revenue sharing.
Yes. Yeah.
Except for baseball. Well, baseball may have it too, but the way it works is in professional and NBA basketball, the teams that go over the cap, which right now would be like Denver and Boston, they're at the second apron.
Yeah.
The money that they pay over the cap, they have to pay 3.5 times that amount. I'm somewhere around that area back to the league, which is now distributed amongst all the teams that did not go above the cap. So if I'm a team that's not very good, then I actually get money from the league, which offsets whatever losses that I'm going to take because of ticket sales.
Right.
But home playoff games are still mine and merchandising is still mine. So that's the way it works.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a socialist system in our professional leagues here in the United States, where it's like it's revenue sharing. So that's the reason why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can win the championship or the Milwaukee Bucks can
There's
win
more
the
parity overall.
Way more, or a team like Dallas. I mean, Dallas is the 4th largest area in the United States. Dallas-Fort Worth area has got 6 million people, and we can still compete with Los Angeles. And the reason why is because of the salary cap.
Because of this, yeah.